Hey there, this is Natalie, and I've got some more interesting stories for you from Reddit. Remember to subscribe if you like having plenty of new stories to listen to, always read by my real human voice instead of an AI. Now, let's get into the first story. Now, here's a story which sounds pretty wild from the title, but I'm going to be reading this one live, so I don't know yet how it's going to end up, and we can all go on this journey together. It was originally posted by user HAICRII to r/relationship advice, and it is a concluded story with full updates. So we will be getting some answers. The title of the story is, "My boyfriend doesn't want to marry me because I'm an immigrant." And OP begins. I, 29 female, moved to the US 7 years ago as a grad school student from Indonesia. I met my boyfriend, 30 male, a few months after I moved, and we've been together ever since. My boyfriend is a US citizen. After I graduated, we had a serious discussion about where our relationship was headed. I made it very clear that I wanted to eventually get married and to have children. My boyfriend echoed the sentiments. I remember asking him if he saw that happening with me, because I didn't want to be in a relationship with no future. He said that he loved me and that we were definitely headed in that direction. As of last week, we've been dating for 7 years. We've occasionally talked about marriage, but we were both busy with our respective careers, so the timing didn't seem quite right. However, recently my company announced that there's a chance that my department's work will be outsourced. I'm on an H-1B visa, temporary worker, so this means that I need to start looking for a job ASAP if I want to continue staying in the US. Last week, during our anniversary, I brought this up. I asked him if he thought it was the right time to think about getting married, as that will also help with sorting out my visa issues. He looked like he was about to vomit. After much prodding, he confessed that he wasn't planning on us getting married before I was able to get a green card, permanent resident, in the US. I was incredibly confused because he'd never mentioned this before. His reason was that he didn't want to be used as a visa mule, his words, not mine, by me, and that he wanted to make sure that I married him because I loved him and not because it was a ticket to getting to stay in the US, which can only happen when I get a green card. It took me a while to process what he said, and I asked him if he'd be okay to move to Indonesia with me, which he wasn't. I did not react well, and ended up leaving because I couldn't deal with what just happened. I'm still in disbelief. I started dating him because he was the kindest, most thoughtful and generous man I'd met. I now feel like I wasted 7 years. While the visa issues are certainly a problem, I did not date him with the intention of making him my safety net. I cannot believe that after nearly a decade together, he doesn't know what kind of person I am. I feel like this relationship is possibly over, and it hurts. It hurts so much. Oh, this sounds terrible. I mean, who would get into a relationship of 7 years without marriage actually happening, just to get a green card? If that was her objective, there would certainly have been ways of doing it faster, involving some desperate older passport bro or something. It seems like she just thought she was in a normal relationship that was always talked about as going in that direction anyway, and now when it becomes a practical issue for her, suddenly the boyfriend thinks that she's using him as a visa mule. I could get it if he sort of said he just didn't want to get married at all, but the fact that he would marry her after she got a green card by some other means, that makes it all just sound really bad. This isn't an Am I the Butthole post, but I think it's clear who is the hole between the butty cheeks in this post. But we do have an update. And OP says, "A few days back I made a post of how my boyfriend of 7 years didn't want to marry me because I was an immigrant on an H-1B and he didn't want to be a visa mule. I got a lot of wonderful comments and DMs, a few trolls too, but that's expected from Reddit. Because the thread got locked and the post was subsequently removed because I have a low karma account, I was unable to respond to anyone. I'm posting this update to do that, plus add in some more things that have transpired since. There's a TLDR at the bottom. Addressing some of the stuff in the comments. I've been on an H-1B visa for a bit more than 2 years now. I was on STEM OPT for about 3 years after grad school. I had terrible luck with the H-1B lottery, and I got one in the last round I was eligible to apply in. Getting permanent residence in the US is not easy. I know people who've been here for 15 plus years who are still waiting for their permanent residence. For those of you who DM'd me calling me a gold digger, you guys made me laugh out loud. I'm aware of the legalities around sponsoring a spouse for a permanent residence, including the financial aspect. It shouldn't have been a problem for the following reasons. 1. I'm a STEM major who recently shifted into management. I work for a large company and I do quite well for myself. My boyfriend is a teacher and our incomes are not comparable. He earns around $60,000, I earn close to $300,000. 2. We've been living together for around 6 years. We have a shared account to pay for expenses like rent and utilities that we both deposit a percentage of our salary into. The rest of our money goes into our own private accounts and we don't manage each other's money. 3. Because I'm pretty frugal, I've saved up quite a lot of money in the form of savings and investments. If my boyfriend was worried about the legality of sponsoring me financially for 10 plus years, I would have happily discussed moving the money around. I was even considering buying a house, so we could have made that a joint ownership thing. The point is, we could have figured it out. I haven't relied on him financially ever, and I didn't intend on doing that in the future. 4. I might not have considered everything, but you have to note that I thought about the marriage for visa thing very recently, only when the threat of possibly having to leave loomed over me. This isn't something I'd thought about in detail at all. Regarding my situation back home in Indonesia, I come from a very religious and conservative family and had a horrible childhood. My family does not support my career choices. I cut contact with my family when I moved to the US, so they're not in the picture at all. I was on great terms with boyfriend's family. They loved me. Now for the actual update. He is now my ex-boyfriend. I took a few days to collect myself and then reached out to him wanting to talk. He agreed. It turns out that he's been insecure about earning less than I did for a while. Apparently his friends have been poking fun at our relationship, calling me the sugar mummy because I take care of most of the expenses. He never told me this until now. He apparently didn't feel like an equal because our pay differs so much and started feeling that I was only with him as a quick way to get permanent residence here. I was speechless. I couldn't believe that his friends gaslighted him into doubting our relationship. I reminded him how he had supported me when I was in grad school, like getting me groceries when I had little money to spare, allowing me to stay with him rent-free in my last year of grad school to help me minimise expenses so I didn't have to take out a loan, letting me use his car when I was attending interviews. I told him that he did them because he loved me, and me taking on the majority of household expenses since I started working is my way of paying him back for all the things he did for me back then. He said that he gets what I'm saying, but also that he didn't expect me to start earning more than him straight off the bat. I asked him if there was any chance he'd consider going to couples therapy, like some of you had suggested, and he declined because he didn't think he was being unreasonable. He said that he wanted to be the provider in a relationship and that he didn't feel like one in ours. So there's no going back from this unless I quit my job and found another that paid substantially less, which isn't going to happen. Well, long story short, we broke up. His family is in disbelief. They were hoping that he would propose soon. I've moved into an Airbnb for now. A little bit of good news to end this update with. My company offered me a similar role in a different department. However, this is based out of France, and there's a small decrease in pay. I've always dreamed about living in Europe, and I've accepted this offer. I've signed the relocation agreement, and I'll move there in the next 8 to 12 weeks. TLDR, boyfriend was insecure about earning less than me. Boyfriend has now become ex-boyfriend. Company offered a new job in France. Leaving US in 2 to 3 months to start a new life in France. Allons-y. Well, at least it turned out to be less, kind of racist than it originally sounded. But the guy being insecure about earning less than his partner, it's a tale as old as time, but usually these couples where the guy's like this are ones where he was with her while she was studying for this kind of career. What did he think was going to happen? She's doing grad school to get a well-paid career in STEM. He's a teacher, which is obviously still a good job, but it's one where you kind of know where the cap is and what you can earn. So he must have really just known the whole time she was studying that this would be the likely outcome. He's not going to suddenly get a job offer that pays anything close to what she makes. And she's following the career path she chose and studied for while she was already with him. It just seems pretty baffling to me. I know some guys are kind of insecure in the situation where the woman earns more than them. And if that's how they feel, that's how they feel. If it's part of your identity to be the one that's providing for your family or future family, then, who am I to tell you that's wrong? But if that's something he really doesn't want from his long-term relationship, then why start dating somebody who's on that path and then lead them to believe that you expect it to move on to marriage and things? It's not like she's just going to give up the career that she's spent years and years getting qualified for. It's bringing in good money for both of you to use, just because you have some kind of idea that you should be earning more than her. If you want to be earning more than your partner, then you either have to be on an ambitious path yourself or choose a partner who's on a career path or not on a career path at all that will always result in them having a lower income than you. Obviously, I suppose it is better that it was his feelings of inadequacy that led him to think that, he wasn't good enough for her, so she must only be with him for the green card, than that he just has a problem with immigrants. So at least his reasons for being a butthole are kind of understandable, even if they are, to my mind, pretty stupid. But I think OP did the right thing by ending things with him. And I hope that she ended up having a good start to her life in France. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. This is a classic, updated and concluded Reddit story which started in 2022. It's entitled, "I keep meeting my birth mom, but she doesn't know it's me." And it was originally posted by user No Dinner Invite. It was originally posted to r/offmychest. And it begins, "She had me when she was 14, and I, 24 male, was given up for adoption. My parents told me about her growing up. I still have the letter she wrote me that she asked if they could give it to me if they wanted. It's crazy reading it sometimes and knowing it was a literal child who wrote it, saying she's sorry she couldn't be my mommy, but she hopes I'm happy. She was open to having contact, but we moved for my dad's job when I was 11, and then it seemed impossible to find her. But luckily, I did. She's working at this small restaurant, and I keep going, but she doesn't know it's me. We talk sometimes, and she seems like a nice lady. Sometimes when she says something like, 'Do you want a refill, honey?' or uses another term like that, I want to tell her. I don't know why it makes me nervous. We talk sometimes, and she seems really genuine. If it's not super busy, she's more open to talking about random stuff. I literally drive 2 hours to come and eat at this place just to see her. And it's like she knows me already, because I'm there once or 2 times a week for the past 3 months, so she always says hi with a big smile. But man, if only she knew." But of course, this is an updated story, so we do get to find out what happens when he does tell the lady at the restaurant that she's actually his mother. So let's get straight into that update. He says, "Well, I did it. I told her. And yeah, it was pretty heavy. My heart was even beating fast. I kept trying to think how to tell her. Many of the comments on my last post here mentioned writing her a letter, just how she wrote a letter for me. Originally, that was the plan, but for me, it felt like I needed to say it. Oh, really quick, I want to say thanks to everyone for their love and support, mostly to all the birth parents out there who shared their stories with me. That's what really helped push me to have the courage to confront her. It meant so much. Thanks. Everything happened the day before yesterday, by the way. I did wait for her to be done with her shift, and that was when they were closing the restaurant already, and waited in the parking lot. We said hi when she saw me first, but then I told her there was something serious that she needed to know. First told her sorry for keeping it from her this long. She didn't react until I actually pulled out her letter, and she started bawling from there, like screaming and crying at the same time, and didn't even have to finish the whole "I'm your son" speech. She just saw it and knew. It was crazy. Next thing I know, she's hugging me instantly, but then she pulled back and asked if it's okay to hug me. Of course it is, and we're just there hugging and crying in the parking lot. It hit her hard though. Her legs gave out for a second, so I actually had to hold her up while she's still hugging me for a minute. What really got me was her saying to me, "Look how big you got." Also hearing her cry made me cry too. She went back to open the restaurant up. She wouldn't take no for an answer. We had coffee, ate a slice of their pie inside, and talked. So many stuff we talked about. She told me the second time I came to the restaurant, she got a feeling, but for her it was hard to believe it was me. So that feeling she had was pushed way down. Because she told me for years after I was adopted, she saw kids that would be my age and used to think they were me. Then she would be crying in public. It messed with her mind a lot and made her depressed, so she didn't want to do the same when she saw me, getting her hopes up like that. She says I look so much like my biological dad when he was younger though. We talked about him too. They stayed in contact with each other in case I ever reached out to one of them, so it would be easier to contact the other. I didn't have hope about finding my biological dad since he was never mentioned, so I'm glad they both planned for this future scenario. She told me about how they wanted to keep me, especially my biological dad. He didn't want me to be adopted, but he knew they had to because they were just kids. It took him a long time to get past it after I was born, she told me. That's why he didn't leave, because he didn't want to believe he might not see me again. We talked for hours, till almost 2 in the morning. They closed at 11. She just wanted to know everything about me, but her main thing was, am I happy? Were my parents good to me? Did I have a happy childhood? And I did. I told her thank you for helping to give me this life. We both cried again. She cried the most. Everything was very emotional for her. Sometimes she would look really happy, but then get sad again. After my 18th birthday, she was hoping I would find her. That's why she stayed in the same city. But since I didn't, she always thought maybe I resented her, wasn't told I'm adopted, or maybe had decided it was better not to have her around. It made me feel bad for not telling her sooner. She told me it's not my fault, and I did right going at my own pace. Honestly, she's so sweet. The way she kept looking at me with the biggest smile, it made me emotional sometimes. Makes you think, how can someone who's been a total stranger your whole life look at you with so much love? It's wild. We learned so much about each other. She asked me if we could have dinner soon to keep talking, and if at some point in the future, if I'm interested, come over to her house so I can meet her husband. That all sounded really great. We exchanged numbers. After I left, she sent a text telling me thank you for giving her this gift, that she didn't know if it would ever come. My girlfriend came over and she hugged me while I cried. I wasn't sad, by the way. These were happy tears. Everything went better than I expected. There was still emotionally heavy stuff, but I'm still glad that we got to open up to each other. Oh, that's such a lovely story. But that's not all. There is another update where OP gets to meet his father. So let's take a look at that. This was under a second post on r/offmychest, and it's entitled, "Met my biological dad for the first time ever, and I'm very happy about it." Once again posted under the username No Dinner Invite. He says, "Lots of you asked to let you know how it goes meeting my biological dad, and to say it was emotional is an understatement. I've been feeling so many things since this all happened. We met a few days ago. Was originally supposed to be almost 2 weeks ago, but stuff kept coming up. Work, and then I got sick, not COVID, for days, but we made it happen. To be honest, this was more nervous for me because I didn't know anything about him. With my bio mom, it was different because I watched her from afar and got to know her a little before it came out. I asked my bio mom if she could be there too, just because she knows him better, so it was the two of us waiting for him at this park. He was already crying before we even got to him. This guy is strong too, so he pulled me in for the biggest bear hug and crying. He told me he wants to know that they loved me so much, and he loves me. I lost count how many times he'd come back in for one more hug. This definitely got to him. And he kept saying, "Thank you, God," a few times, looking at my face. The feelings, man, the feelings. We had so many of them. Hearing him tell me how much they love me, even back then, it meant so much for me to hear that, and not gonna lie, had me holding him tight too. I'm sure to everyone at the park it was weird seeing 3 crying people. My bio dad said he cried so many times just driving over here. He didn't think he had any more tears until he saw us. When we were all sitting down, it hit me that my bio mom was not lying when she said we look alike. Obviously he's older, but still, holy frick, the similarities. He brought gifts too, which was a surprise. It was really nice. He told me I don't have to keep them if I don't want it, but he felt weird not coming with anything, and he's wanted to give me this for a long time. One was a teddy bear holding a picture frame of him at the hospital holding me. He was 15 years old. It's still crazy to realise that. And then the other thing was a journal. The journal thing was stuff he said he started writing to me years after I was adopted. He was in therapy, and that helped him to cope, thinking he would give them to me one day. His way of still feeling connected to me. I haven't read everything yet, but some of the pages were his thoughts and if he's talking to me. How he felt when they found out she was pregnant, then the adoption. Everything going on in his mind when he first got to hold me as a baby. I didn't even know he was at the hospital too. It was not what I was expecting. It really got me. I read some more of what he wrote last night that really got me crying. I'm sad to think how much this affected them emotionally for years. Also, think it's pretty sweet he wanted to write this for me. We talked about his own life, which was pretty hard, his struggles with home life, and the feelings he had about giving me up. Then he wanted to know everything about me, basically with the same questions my bio mom had. I made sure they knew they made the right decision, because my life was pretty great. He looked like he wanted to cry when he knew that, because that's all they hoped for, and it was something he always wondered about for years. My bio mom left after we were more comfortable, so we could talk more in private, once it didn't feel too awkward between us. From there he told me stories about how he met my bio mom. Sometimes he'd point out stuff he'd noticed about me that reminds him of her, or me and him having similar likes. Example, I love eating mangoes. I can eat them all day, and that's what I bought when we bought snacks at the park. He told me my bio mom was obsessed with mangoes even before she got pregnant. While pregnant, she craved it even more. Just cool info to know, even if it's random stuff. It's still stuff we have in common, and we both have lots. Both like hiking, playing pool. He was a swimmer in college, and I was on a swim team in high school. We both love rock music, especially 90s. My bio dad was really open about sharing everything, like he was really getting ready for this meeting. He hoped it would happen, and he prayed every day to see me again because he had so many things he wanted to tell me. Overall, really good first meeting. I'm glad how it went. He's open to the idea of meeting my parents. After I told them about all this, because they definitely want to meet my bio parents again if I'm comfortable with that. Obviously, if my bio parents are too. Let's see when that happens. I don't know how it's going to feel for me. They've met each other before I was even born, but I never had them at the same place, so that'll be interesting. Me and my parents met up yesterday to have breakfast so I could tell them everything. My mom was so happy how it went. She actually cried too when I was telling them about both of their reactions. My dad was proud because he knew how hard it was the months after finding my bio mom and not really wanting to make contact yet. I'm really happy to have their support because it's hard not to feel guilty about wanting to know more about my bio parents. They gave me a really good life, so for a while it's felt like maybe to them I'm showing them that wasn't good enough for me and I'd rather have my bio parents. But they told me many times they want me to do this for me, and they know how much I love them, and I really do. Finding them and meeting them was hard, but it was so worth it to me, and seeing their reactions made it feel even more worth it. Still can't believe it sometimes. I'm just realising this has turned into a long post. My bad. Writing this has been therapeutic, to be honest, kind of thinking back to everything that's happened. Feeling really grateful. Again, want to say thank you to everyone who's been on this journey with me, everyone who sent me their own stories, their love, their encouragement. You guys have beautiful hearts, and I'm happy I had somewhere to talk about all this and receive so much love back. Just want to say to all the adopted kids out there, I wish you guys luck and that you find what you're looking for. It's not easy at all. I feel fortunate that things didn't go badly, or that my bio parents aren't bad people. And to all the birth parents out there who made this sacrifice, thank you. It's because of you there are kids out there like me who got to have a great life with loving parents. Oh, this is definitely one for the wholesome stories pile, isn't it? But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. And that's it for this video, but there are plenty more to check out on the channel, and if you watch them, it really helps me out where I need many watch hours to get this channel monetized. Thanks for watching this one, and I hope to see you again very soon.